At the kitchen table, across from my boo, she plays new Marshmallow. Gosh, that's deja vu. Oh, what a fable to a deuce of the Mallow Man, but she's got too many cards in her hand.
Come on now, let's play some Lorcana. With Pirate Donald Duck, it's a Nirvana. We'll down a Dole Whip floater, two lick popsicles, play red and blue, a smorgasbord of lore, it's Lorcana. Thanks for that intro, Goofy.
Thanks, champ.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another lovely episode of
Smorcana. I'm Brett.
I'm Katie.
And we are a Disney/Lorcana/snack crossover podcast trying to cover all of our favorite bases each and every week.
We're still number one, everybody. We're still number one.
We're also still last place, the one and only.
We're also still 10th and second.
I don't know how numbers work.
I don't know either.
We had anticipated this being our Tiana's Bayou Adventure / Tiana in Lorcana theme episode, but we had such a full weekend at Set Champs. We have so much to talk about that we're going to make that our main course for the week, and then we're going to preload our Tiana episode so that when we go on our road trip starting next week, we will continue with Smorcana episodes unabated.
You could say that we're almost there for our Tiana episode.
Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you. Today, though, we're going to talk about our Set Champ experiences, our really big, busy weekend. We have so many stories, so much to talk about, so many takes.
But before we get into that, we have something special to announce. It's time for another giveaway.
I didn't know when to stop. We're going to do another giveaway. We love giveaways. We're going to put all the details on our social media, kind of like we did for the last giveaway. It's going to be a like, follow, comment kind of deal. We're going to be giving away a Madam Mim dragon pin.
Along with an Alice deck box.
And some other special goodies.
Yeah, you're going to get a whole grab bag of fun Lorcana stuff if you head to Instagram, Facebook, and or Twitter. You give us a like and a comment and a follow, and you will be entered. And then you will also get to interact with us on social media, which we have a great time with.
It's going to be so much fun.
I do want to mention one other quick statistic regarding our listenership. For the first time last month on Spotify, we had more female and non-binary identifying listeners than male identifying listeners.
Yes, come through. Come on.
And I think that's really exciting because I think we try really hard to make this a really inclusive podcast and have as many people from as many different walks of life listening. So I was really excited to see that. And I think it's especially exciting in a TCG-based community, right? Typically a male-dominated hobby. And so it's awesome to see.
Yeah, we want to be an open and inclusive space for everybody who likes Lorcana and Disney and fun and snacks to come and chat and learn about the game and just have a good time in our cozy little restaurant. So that's so great to hear. I love that.
Pretty cool, pretty cool.
Speaking of our cozy little restaurant, I'm getting pretty hungry. I feel like we should order, right?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Hello.
Hello, Helga. Good to see you.
I have your surf and turf.
Ooh, yummy. Thank you so much.
It's lobster, steak, etc. Enjoy.
Thank you so much, Helga.
Wow, that looks really tasty.
Yeah. A pair of delicious things to eat.
Indeed.
The surf and the turf.
The surf and the turf. It's almost like we played two Set Champs.
We did.
A surf and a turf.
We surfed on Saturday and we turfed on Sunday.
You know that's right.
So we had a great time. A full weekend. I mean, we're recording a little later. Normally we record on Sunday nights, but this week we're recording on Monday morning, nice and early because we didn't get back until pretty late last night.
Yeah, we were trekking back from Maine yesterday. But Saturday, we had a full day in Londonderry, New Hampshire, playing an awesome CCG.
a really, really cool store. They run great events. We've been out for a few of their casual nights, and it's a great place to play, a really fun community, a very competitive community. Now, Katie, how did you do? How did you do on the first day of Ursula's Return Set Champs?
Well, now, my dear, dear podcast listeners, I have to confess something. I was so sure about my Ruby Amethyst deck. I do believe I said, I'm never changing this. This is the most I've ever stuck with something. I'm going to play Ruby Amethyst for the rest of my life, etc. Well, I didn't play Ruby Amethyst. It was kind of getting into my brain a little bit. I couldn't stop overthinking all the micro decisions, and I just wasn't having that much fun with it anymore. And that was kind of causing me to tilt in games, and I wasn't winning any games, and it was just like not a great road for me with that. So I started changing my deck a little bit. Brett helped me figure out some different avenues to take, and I ended up playing a Ruby Amber Mufasa list, which was so much fun.
You always liked Ruby, and you also have always really liked, princesses and like rushing ahead with some high lore princess characters like Rapunzel. And so it seemed like maybe a natural fit.
Yeah, you did a great job of diagnosing exactly what I needed, because once I started playing that deck, I was like, oh, I could play forever. Oh, this is amazing. Oh, yeah. And I didn't care if I won or lost, which is the best way to feel when you're going into a set champs, because it's a long day and sometimes you will lose a lot and you have to still find a way to still have fun with it, even if you're facing some tough opposition.
We maybe didn't follow the advice that we gave last week. It was like, stick with what you know, play the deck you're comfortable with. It was like Monday or Tuesday, so just 4 or 5 days before set champs, and you decided to make the pivot. Luckily, we did have the time last week to play a whole bunch of games. You were able to get to a point where you felt really comfortable playing that list into a lot of the popular lists in the meta.
Yeah, and I had a really good time.
So at Awesome, how were your matches? How did it go?
It was a great day. There were a lot of people there. I think there were about 29 people there. I had a lot of great matchups for myself. I took one game against Discard, which is a terrible matchup for me, so that felt really good. The people at the store were really nice. I had really nice opponents all day. And I came in 15th, which wasn't too bad. I felt pretty good about it. That was higher than I had gotten for the last set champs, so I felt like I had improved. I was definitely having more fun than I did at the last set champs. I felt more confident with what I was playing. I felt more confident as a Lorcana player, too, which made a big difference. I was not the only lady in attendance, which is always exciting.
Not even close, right? There are several.
Yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun. How about you?
I had an up and down day.
Yeah, you had a stormier day than I did.
Yeah. I had mostly wonderful opponents. I had a good time overall, and just some bumps and some frustrations along the way. We matched up. We both 2-0'd in the first round, so then we got paired up in the second round.
Right. Never forget. Oh my gosh. How did I skip that?
I don't know. But that was, that's never super fun. It doesn't really feel like we can come out of that with a win. We ended up splitting. I was happy to take a game off of you because you were playing a very quick list that can tend to run me over. I was playing Sapphire Steel, by the way, a deck that I really like, has mostly a pretty even matchup spread. But when in playing against you on that Mufasa list, I knew that I just needed to try to take one game when I was going first. And I was able to do that. So, that's fine. We came out of the split. I was able to 2-0 my next opponent, and then who was super nice. In round 4, I sat down opposite somebody who I wasn't familiar with, and he said that he wanted to draw. And I said, I don't think I can draw. I was looking at the standings, and I was on strength of schedule. I was in, I think, 5th. And so I said that, and he said, you definitely can. Like, we can take a break if you just agree to draw. And I didn't feel great about it. He was clearly wanting this, and I reluctantly said, sure, fine, and instantly regretted it. I texted our diversions group chat. I was like, I just agreed to a draw that I'm fairly sure I shouldn't have taken. I wish I'd just played. I was not feeling great about it at all. So we look at the standings after round 4, and my opponent and I realized that we were in the same boat, that we had just faced two people from the same meta and had ended up in the exact same position of being in a win and in game, that we both needed to 2-0 if anybody below us also 2-0'd. So we're like, well, what do we do? Because now if we play against each other and draw, neither of us will make it in. And it was a Sapphire Steel mirror match. So we said, okay, you know what? Well, we'll play it out. Maybe that will determine it for us. Maybe one of us will 2-0 and then we won't have to think about anything. That'll just kind of figure out what happens. So we play, and of course we each win on the play going first. And so we're like, well, now what do we do? This doesn't feel great. We played a mirror match. We both ended up in a position where we were kind of like cajoled into taking draws that we didn't want to take. And then we said, well, let's roll a single D6, high roll, we'll take the 2-0. And we did that, and I lost that die roll. So, basically through some strength of schedule and some unlucky die rolls, I didn't make it into the top cut. I didn't feel great about that. I was mad at myself for taking a draw. I have vowed to never, ever take a draw ever again. And I think I now will have a vocabulary for declining a draw. I think I can say, I've had some bad experiences with my opponents offering me draws, and, I really just would rather play the game. I would rather play the game and lose than have what happened happen ever again, because it felt really, really bad to miss the cut in that fashion. Because I played 8 games of Lorcana, I won 6 of them. That in terms of just like win percentage, that should be enough to make the cut, So I would have rather have taken my chances against that opponent. So yeah, draws, be really careful. Make sure if you're ever going to take a draw, you're absolutely certain that you are mathematically into the top cut. Don't just take your opponent's word for it, unless they're, a good friend or something like that. And even then, make sure you have your ducks in a row, and there's no chance that you can be eliminated if you take a draw. Yeah, it was a really unfortunate way to kind of end the tournament for me. I felt like I was playing well. Yeah, it was less than ideal, and it was a little bit of a sour note for me. It's my own fault, right? Like, I'm not blaming my opponent at all. I'm not blaming anybody except for myself. It was just absolutely the wrong call to take that draw. And yeah.
It's a really tough situation to be in. It's a tough social situation, right? You're in a room with a bunch of people that you likely don't know, maybe some people that you do, right? And it's really hard if someone seems to be so gung-ho about taking a draw, and they seem to know what they're talking about, and they seem maybe tired or upset, or like they really need the break. To not give them that break if they're setting it up like that is really hard. And maybe they didn't mean it this way, but to me it sounds really manipulative to try to get someone to draw. And that's not great sportsmanship. That to me is frustrating to see in the Lorcana community, right? And it feels more like it's playing the game of the stats and the ranks instead of actually just playing Lorcana, which is what it should be. There's 5 rounds for a reason, right? And it just seems odd to kind of play it like that. And we saw it at both the set champs that we were at. And I can talk more about it for the second day of set champs when we get there. But it's an interesting thing to me that I didn't know existed until I really got into the TCG world.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I wouldn't go so far as saying that it was manipulative. I'm going to give my opponent the benefit of the doubt and say it was an honest mistake. But I will agree it was a difficult social situation for me to navigate. I had trouble with it, so that's a really good learning experience for me. My previous competitive card gaming experiences did not involve draws. There was never any reason to draw. That mechanic wasn't in the game. It was just an entirely different kind of system. So it's not something I'm familiar with. It's something I'm still learning about, and especially with the 2-game format. So, yeah.
So where did you end up at the end of the day, Brett?
So because I gave my opponent the 2-0, I think I ended up in 10th. And had I taken the draw, I believe I would have been 9th, which would have been right on the bubble.
Right. Yeah. Tricky.
Super, super tricky. Yeah.
Super tricky day, but, overall, we played a lot of great Lorcana. And afterwards, we went out to dinner with Pete and Adam, and we were able to chat more Lorcana, kind of de-escalate the day, which was really nice, over some burgers.
Yeah, I had a really good spicy kind of burger. I think it was called like the Ladder 21 burger because it was pepper jack, fried jalapenos, avocado, and like a chipotle aioli.
And I had the same thing. It was so good.
Right, you did. Yeah, it was awesome. It was so good. And a nice beer, It was a nice cap to the day with Pete and Adam, and we got to chat, and they let me vent about feeling foolish for taking that draw.
And snacks are always the cure to any ills.
Absolutely. I will say one more quick thing on the draws. I wish that there was an incentive to not draw. What I'm specifically talking about is often in the top cut, the seeding doesn't determine whether or not you get to choose to go first. It's still a die roll. So if the seeding always determined who was on the play and who was on the draw, there would be more of an incentive to play every game out, right? Because then you're fighting for a better seed in the top cut so that if you do make it, you have a little bit of an advantage. So I think that it would be great to incentivize that and disincentivize some of the draws too.
I think that's a really great idea. That's a good solution for it.
So that was day 1. Got to see some friends, got to meet some really cool people, had a good time, and we were ready for day 2.
Overall, a successful day. We went back home. We played more Lorcana. we went to sleep, and then we got up to travel to Maine. We went to the Set Champs at Weekend Anime right outside of South Portland in Maine. So about an hour for us. We drove up with our buddy Pete, and we had a great time exploring this little store that's kind of like I would say a hole in the wall. It doesn't sound right, but it looks like a home, right? It just looks like a residential home, and then you go in and it's like this beautiful palace to gaming. It's huge on the inside, and they had all kinds of merch. They had katana sleeves. They had little bucket hats that had dice all over them and really cute earrings. It was a great place.
Yeah, super, super cool. A little shout out to katana sleeves. If you're looking for the best sleeves for card games, Dragon Shield has been my standby for a long time now. Dragon Shields are great. I always go with the Dragon Shield matte sleeves, have for quite a while. But recently, I've tried out katanas, and they feel great to shuffle. I think if you know anybody who has katana sleeves, try to borrow their deck for a quick second, give it a shuffle, see what you think. I think that they're really, really smooth. They seem pretty durable so far. Really enjoying those. Anyway, Katie, how did your day 2 go?
It went very well. There were a lot of people there. There were 32 people there. It was a really great day. I did really well, actually.
You did extremely well. So walk us through your day. How did it go?
So I was playing my Amber Ruby deck once again, my classic Aloha Mufasa deck. And I had a really great first game. My opponent had kind of like a homebrew Amethyst Emerald deck. He had been playing with some different cards. He was talking me through his decisions, and he wasn't too sure about his deck. And I won that 2-0, which felt good at the beginning. That always feels good. If you can win your first round, it's always a great boost to the rest of the day.
Absolutely.
I had a great round 2. I won my round 2.
And your round 2 was against Emerald Steel Discard, right?
Yeah, my round 2 was against Discard, right. And Discard is a terrible matchup for me. But it just, by the luck of the draw, I suppose, I lucked out and was able to kind of get under their Diablo and Bucky and just play out all my little dudes that just quest for a million. And I was able to rocket to the sky for both games. I got the right hand at the beginning. I had really good mulligans. Once I mulliganed for 6, I think, I was mulliganing really hard all day. Because the bit to my deck is if I don't have a good start, then it's kind of downhill. I need ink. I need 1/2s. I need 1/2/3s ideally. I have to get my motor going. Otherwise, I completely run out of gas and I can't go.
We should provide a little context here. Your deck is a pretty quick Mufasa list, right? So you're running a few of the 1-drop Lilos that quest for 2.
Yes.
You're running the Piglet Pooh Pirate Captain, who can often quest for 3.
He's perfect.
And then you usually try to play Gaston on turn 3.
Right. Gaston, who discounts the next card I play by 2 if you exhaust him. And I have on the top end, I have some Lady Tremaines, some Madamedusas, and some Perditas, which were actually Brett's genius idea to pop that puppy in there. And she is unreal in that deck. Unreal. It's a deck with Mufasa, right? So the whole point of the deck is that it's all characters. There's no actions, there's no songs, there's no items. So Perdita is almost always guaranteed to get me a 1 or 2 drop out of my discard back on the board. Not even in my hand, back on the board, which means if I can pop back in a Simba as a bodyguard, I've now protected Perdita. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this has been floating around for quite a while, right? Combining this Perdita with Mufasa, but oftentimes she gets cut from this list because, she dies to Brawl, she dies to Medusa, and I think that that's a little bit reductive, right? Because like you said, all weekend, everybody was brawling your piglets, and rightfully so. I mean, you have to, right? You can't let Piglet quest for 3 a few turns in a row. So your piglets are getting brawled. Your Gastons are often getting brawled.
Definitely.
Which means that by the time you're playing your Perdita, a lot of that removal has been used.
Yeah, it's really great to get up to her. And I have 2 Perditas, and I have more characters beyond her, right? So if they've already brawled my Perdita and my Gaston, I can bust out another Perdita. I can bust out a Mufasa without them being able to brawl either. It's really awesome. It's a really fun deck to play. It works really well with my brain, I guess. I am more comfortable with an aggro deck like that where I know exactly what's happening. It's easier for me to shift with how a game is going for me. I have an easier time changing my game plan mid-game with a deck that's like that, a deck that's aggressive, right? It's worked for me really well in Hearthstone too. It's just something that clicks with my brain. So it was a lot of fun.
So you beat discard round 2.
Yes.
And then round 3, you were able to win again?
Yeah, I sure did. 2-1.
Awesome.
It was truly awesome.
So then
I was at the top table, which is exciting. Never happens for me unless it's the first round and it's a mistake.
No.
And my opponent was also at the top table with me and asked for a draw, which sent me into a little bit of a spiral, especially because of Brett's traumatic experience with a draw the day before. But I trusted our friend Pete, not a bad guy, who looked at the stats with me and told me that it really was okay and that I could do it. And I still felt really guilty about it. But I trusted him because I wanted a chance in the top 8, and I was worried.
Yeah.
I was undefeated overall, but I was definitely nervous about messing up and getting bumped when I was so close to the end. So my opponent and I think we were 1-2, and we decided to draw both rounds, and then we made it to the top 8 together.
Right. And you were top 8 because everybody was drawing. You ended up in the top 8 as the 3rd seed, I think.
Yeah.
So, it didn't even, there was no incentive to even keep playing, really, for anybody. Once you hit that 3-win mark, if you can take a draw, get to the 10 points. And since you drew twice, you were on 11 points. Yeah, so, I mean, it makes sense mathematically. It's one of those things. You had a good pal saying, yes, mathematically, 100%. If you draw twice, you will be in the top 8. And then, again, there was no incentive to play for a higher seeding because you're rolling a die to see who goes first in the cut anyway.
And it didn't matter. In that store, also, there was no break for dinner or snacks. They gave us about 15 minutes between the regular Swiss and when the top 8 started. So that was time I grabbed a Coke and went to the bathroom and then kept on going.
Yeah, maybe that's another way that we can disincentivize some of the draws because, yeah, there is a human toll, right? There are like basic bodily functions that you can meet if you have the time to. And so maybe more breaks need to be incorporated in. Maybe tournaments should get in the habit of having a lunch break all of the time, and that will help with everybody's ability to physically take on a tournament. Because I can see you right now even talking about it, how like you don't feel good about it. You don't feel good about drawing. But I mean, it makes sense. It does mathematically, right? Like you're in that position, you want to play for a chance to get these cool prizes. It's really hard if everybody around you is taking advantage of that system to not take advantage of it yourself.
Right. And it was tricky where I would have been the only one saying no. And I understood that the math worked out that way. And I was excited to be in the top 8 and have a chance at an Ursula, right? But I just wanted to play. I mean, I was undefeated at that point, and I'm more excited about rolling the dice, quote unquote, in a game and losing a chance at getting an Ursula than I was worried about necessarily getting an Ursula, if that makes sense. I was not so worried about getting an Ursula, like, oh my God, that's going to make or break my whole day, because I never went into it with that mindset. I was never thinking I would get an Ursula. I thought, I'm just going to play Lorcana because I love Lorcana and we're going to have so much fun, that it didn't matter to me if I played the next 2 rounds and I dropped to 20th place. That didn't matter as much. But, shoulda, woulda, coulda, I guess. But I'm happy that I made it to the top 8. I think if I hadn't and I had lost those 2 rounds and I didn't make it to the top 8, that I'd also be kicking myself. So it's really hard to know. I don't know. But I made it to the top 8 and that felt fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was well earned. You had 3 tough matches that you fought through, including your worst matchup against Discard. So there's nothing to feel ashamed of. You should only feel proud. That said, I think like our collective experiences, we saw both sides of the intentional draw system.
Right, yeah.
And like, I think it would be cool if it didn't exist.
I agree. It worked out well for me, but I still felt kind of sticky about it. We could talk about intentional draws all day long, and I hope they do something to change that culture that's forming about it. So then I went to top 8, and I played against another woman named Katie, which was maybe the biggest catastrophe of the day, because Katie and I wanted both of us to make it.
Yeah.
Ladies want both the ladies to make it to the top 4.
There are so many Lorcana Katies. And you're all amazing.
Yeah, it was fantastic. But Katie and I faced off. We knew only one Katie can survive. And she was a really great player. We went to 3 games. It was tough stuff.
She was playing what?
She was playing Ruby Amethyst, which is usually a good matchup for me. And I had the boon of having played Ruby Amethyst a lot in preparation for this. So I knew what her deck could do. I knew what to expect. I knew the give and take of the foxes and the castle, et cetera, et cetera.
And the be prepared.
And the be prepared, yeah. I tried really hard to avoid her be prepared. I lucked out in one of the games. She did not have any be prepareds. She revealed her cards and she was 1 away from a be prepared, I think, which would have won her the game. So it was really close. The second game we played, she won. She got 2 Queen's Castles out on the board, I believe.
Rough.
And that's almost impossible for my deck to take. And then the third game, we were really close. She had a great move, which I hadn't seen all day. I had a board of characters, one of which was Piglet. Now, Piglet Pooh Pirate Captain, if you're not familiar, I'll give you a little bit of a recap. He quests for 3 if you have 2 other characters in play. Otherwise, he just quests for 1, right? He's a 2/2. He costs 2. He's busted. All day long, he had been getting traded or brawled or anything else off the board. So I had a board that was filled with characters, and she did not brawl Piglet, but instead cleared everything else and left Piglet on the board, which was fantastic because I had an empty hand and 1 Piglet on the board, which is nothing to me because Piglet needs 2 other characters. So it was a really genius move. She was a really great player.
And it was specifically so that when you played Perdita, you couldn't recur your Piglet, right?
Well, right, exactly. And it totally just deflated Piglet. It made him nothing, which my other opponents hadn't seen.
So she was still able to reduce Piglet's power, make sure that he didn't win you the game, while simultaneously making it impossible for you to get a good top deck.
Exactly, right. I couldn't Perdita Piglet because he was still on the board. I would have to sacrifice Piglet myself and then put him in my discard and then wait till the next round and blah, 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 blah. So it was really smart gameplay. I ended up taking that and going to the top 4.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So you'd won an Ursula at this point. It's all gravy. Amazing.
Yeah.
And then what did you play in top 4?
It's all gravy. So then in the top 4, there were 2 men and 2 women. And
heck yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah. And me and Megan ended up getting paired up against each other again for the second time that day, which was a little bit of a bummer because we both wanted like the top 2 to be 2 ladies, which would have been really awesome. She was playing discard. She was the discard deck that I had beaten earlier in the day. So I was feeling good about it, but I did know that discard is a really bad matchup for me. And I needed to get lucky. I needed to have the right opening for my game. I needed to mulligan really well. I mulliganed for 7. I did a full mulligan for one of our games.
Wow.
And then the other one of our games, I did a 6. I mulliganed for 6.
Mm-hmm.
We played 3 games. We went to 3. She was a really good player. She blasted me out of the water with one of my games. Our last game was really tight. We were both at 19. And she just unfortunately didn't have the clear for my Lilo. It was so close.
Wow.
Yeah, it was tough, but then I made it to top 2, which was exciting.
That's so cool. Now, something you said I want to highlight really quickly, and it's that you aggressively mulliganed for your matchup. You knew that if you were going to beat this discard deck, you had to have the perfect draw. You didn't see it initially, and so you threw everything back that wasn't part of the perfect draw. Now, that is really good gameplay.
Yeah, I knew whether I was on the draw or the play that I needed to have those cards already in my hand, because if I don't have a 1-drop, I'm totally screwed for the whole game. It sounds really dramatic, and sometimes I could come back from it if my opponent really didn't get what they needed either, and we both kind of, I guess, lucked into each other having a bad turn 1. It could kind of nullify itself in a way, but if I don't have a 1 and a 2 with that deck, it's just completely toast. So I had to mulligan really aggressively. Luckily, it worked out for me all the times that I did mulligan like a crazy person. I ended up in top 2, which was a blast. And then my top 2 opponent and I, Spencer, played it out to see who was going to get 1 and 2. And he was playing discard. He was playing the boogeyman, the true boogeyman discard. And he was playing a classic discard list. There are some twists on a discard that do quest quickly. They have Merfolk or they have Flynn, and they're going a little bit quicker, which is sometimes easier for me to counter.
Absolutely, right? They're running less removal in favor of a few more characters that quest faster. So I think for you, seeing less removal and a little bit less discard is a great thing. And that's probably what helped you in your top 4 matchup in particular. But I also played against Spencer, spoiler alert, and he was playing a lot more removal.
Yeah, he was. I mean, I had nothing. It was like a dragon came and ate my cards. But it was a lot of fun. We played 2 games. He totally blew me out. And he got number 1 and I got number 2. And I was so stoked. I can't believe it.
I am so proud of you. I am over the moon proud of you.
Thanks.
I am filled with pride. You worked so hard. You studied every, big meta matchup. You trusted your instincts so when a deck wasn't working for you, and you went in with no expectations, with the attitude that you're going to have fun and do your best, and you beat 30 other people. So that was really awesome.
Yeah, thanks. I couldn't believe it. It was a lot of fun. Now, how did you do, Brett?
I had a pretty solid day. I was running back to Sapphire Steel. I had really great opponents all day. Everybody was super nice. Made a lot of new friends at Weekend Anime. So great time. I won my first round, 2-1 in a tight match against Emerald Amethyst. I then had to play against our friend Pete, who we carpooled with. Buddy Pete, not a bad guy, Pete.
Oh, man, it's always tough to play against someone that you really want to also have win.
Yeah, he was playing Amber Emerald discard, and I don't know how I win that matchup as Sapphire Steel. I have no idea. I can beat Emerald Steel. Pete's list is playing cards like You Have Forgotten Me, the Amber action that forces your opponent to discard 2 cards. So in both games, I didn't play cards because I was just trying to hold an ink. He played Prince John into You Have Forgotten Me, both games. I had no hand by turn 5. There was one game where I only played a Fortisphere and a Mickey, I think. And it was really brutal. I maybe gained 1 lore across 2 games.
Oh, that's awful.
It was really brutal.
That's grindy.
Yeah, it was a total blowout. But, I was happy for Pete. My round 3, I was paired into a mirror, which is a really difficult matchup. I was on the draw. I was on the draw every round, by the way. I lost every dice roll until the last round when it didn't matter. Spoiler alert. But I managed to win the mirror on the draw, which was extremely difficult. I was proud of that win for sure. Round 4 was against...
Well, hold on. Sorry. I'll stop you there. Round 3 was epic. Round 3, I don't know if you noticed this, but the entire store had already finished playing. Everyone was in a big circle around your table watching every move. You could hear a pin drop in there. People are whispering to each other.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what's happening. People are leaning over to see how much lore each of them are on, and they're talking about it. And it was really great gameplay. I mean, you're a great player, so it was so much fun to sit there and watch you play that mirror, and you won, which was a great feeling.
Yeah. So I was on the draw, and in the mirror match, it is pretty difficult sometimes on the draw because you're already an ink behind, and if your opponent is hitting their Fishbone Quill and their Hiram, so they're fueling their Fishbone Quill, you have to keep pace. It can be really, really difficult. So I was behind the whole game. I was scratching and clawing to just keep up with the card advantage and the lore race. At a certain point, I realized that my only way to win was to basically shoot for 20 before my opponent, try to get a dime hit off, etc. So my opponent was ahead in the race, and I saw a line where I had 2 bells in my hand, and I had a dime in my hand. And so I could play 2 bells out, and then next turn I could get to 10 ink, and as long as he didn't remove one of the bells, I could get up to 15 the next turn with my dime. And then being at 15 would give me the potential out of playing a whole new world to hit exactly Ariel and then sit her on the board and quest to 20.
Insane.
So the one advantage I had was that I had chipped lore earlier in the game. Earlier in the game, I had a Smee and I had him quest for, I believe, 6. I had 3 turns in a row. I had him quest so that I had that little bit of lore to start with. And that ended up being huge. So he removed one of my bells. The next turn I was able to dime and play bell. And then I played a whole new world. I hit my Ariel. I played it on the board. He couldn't remove the Ariel the next turn. And I had more items than him. But I knew that he was playing item removal. So on the final turn, he removed one of my items. Then I saw him quest with Hiram to remove one of his items. And I said, oh, okay, he can't even out the item total. I will be able to quest with Ariel and hit 20. And that's what happened. And it was a super tight match. Really fun game.
Woo! Massive. It was so cool to watch. So much fun. And when I couldn't quite see all of his items, so I saw him removing items and then like moving items, and it was like, what is happening? Does Ariel have enough or not? But it was so quiet in there that like I couldn't say anything. It was so fun. It was like a movie.
As soon as he quested with Hiram, I think I turned and looked at you and Pete and winked because I knew I had it.
Yeah.
I was like, ha, got it.
Yeah,
but
so
it was
cool.
he was a super kind opponent. He played really well. I just, got lucky. I hit the right cards in the right sequence. And that's what happens sometimes.
Yeah, a lot of fun. How are the rest of your games?
My next game was against Spencer, who was the eventual winner of the event. He was playing Emerald Steel Discard. I know how to play that matchup. I was on the draw again, which is tough. I narrowly lost the first game. I played the way I wanted to play. I had the game in the position I wanted to have it in. And it is the one game that I know over the course of the weekend that I threw, meaning I made a play that cost me the game, and I can identify how it cost me the game. And that is frustrating, but it's a good learning experience.
Yeah, that is helpful at least. What was it?
So it's really hard to describe because it involves a lot of Hidden Cove and Cogsworth math, where his characters at the Hidden Cove were buffed up a little bit, but then I also had it resist from my Cogsworth. And basically it involves, I could have either, rather than remove one of his characters, if the turn before I had removed the Cove and used a popsicle on one of my characters to keep one of my characters on the board, I could have quested to 20 before he did. It is a really narrow line to victory, but looking back on it, I am pretty positive that that's how I lost that game, and I did have a way to win. It was just a lot of intricate board state math using the Cove and the Cogsworth. So it was, in retrospect, I wish I'd seen it, but I didn't, and he played perfectly, basically, as far as I could tell. So he definitely deserved that win. I was able to win game 2. And then game 3, I didn't have what I needed. I just didn't see the draw, and I wasn't able to stop him. So it was a really tight series against the person who won. So I can't feel too bad about it.
Yeah, that's an honorable loss for sure.
Yeah, I lost to 2 people who made the top 4. I played out my round 3 against a wonderful opponent and was able to take that one. So I finished the day 3 and 2. I think I ended up in like 10th place again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was, right on the cusp both days. I feel like I was a bad tournament decision away on the first day, and I feel like I was a gameplay mistake of my own doing on the second day. So maybe a little bit more luck, a little bit of improvement, and I'll get there.
Yeah, definitely. It was a lot of fun, though, as a whole day. We went out to dinner after that again. We got some pizza with Pete, and were able to de-escalate the day once again. It was really a blast. We had a great weekend.
It was a really great time. I can't wait. We have one more set champ scheduled for next weekend before we head off on our road trip. So we'll try to keep you updated about that. But we've talked about this tournament nitty-gritty for quite a while. I hope that this was entertaining. I hope this gives you perspective on what tournament play is like here in New Hampshire. I hope you found value in some of the discussions about draws. I hope that it was fun kind of going through that experience with us.
Definitely.
So that was some delicious surf and turf. Maybe we'll get some dessert now.
Yeah, let's do it. Oh my God, you're so wrong.
What are you talking about? Are you kidding me? You can't eat that while you're playing cards.
You need meat.
Tiff, you can't have sticky meat while you're playing Lorcana.
What's happening over there? Do you hear that, Brett?
I don't know. They're like, they're
What
arguing
are they
about
talking
Lorcana.
about?
I don't know. I can't believe that you would think that that's the best snack you could eat while you're playing Lorcana. That's ridiculous. You would get turkey juice all over your Diablos. Is that what you want to do? You want to dump a bunch of turkey juice in your Diablo sleeve? Are you kidding me, Tiff? Are you kidding me right now?
You have to be lying. You think that the best thing to have during a set champs is a Dole Whip float?
Yeah, you're sitting there, you're playing cards, you're working hard, you need something to cool you down. You need a Dole Whip float. It's cool, it's got the ice cream, it's got the hydration, and you don't have the chance of spilling the turkey juice in your Diablos.
Are you dumb? Hey, are you dumb?
Tiff, you know I'm not dumb.
Sean, stop it. Listen to me. A Dole Whip float? You think that wouldn't spill all over your cards?
You put a cover on the Dole Whip float.
Oh my God.
You put a cover on the Dole Whip.
How about you put a cover on your mouth?
What do you put a cover on and you use a straw? I know that you don't have straws where you come from in the barn that you live in, but in the barn that I'm from, we got straws.
Did you say you're from a barn?
I said you're from a barn.
You're nuts.
You live in a barn, you got no straws. You're gonna have a turkey leg on your cards.
Sean, you need a turkey leg. You need that protein to get through the day. Otherwise, you die, Sean.
Here's what I want to know.
What?
Here's what I want to know.
What?
You're playing cards, right?
Yeah.
You got your cards in one hand, right?
Yeah.
Where's your turkey leg in the other hand?
Yeah.
All right, now what if you gotta exert something?
Put it in your mouth.
You're gonna hold the turkey leg in your mouth while you play your cards.
Well, whereabouts do you put a turkey leg? You're gonna eat it.
It's got a big old turkey leg, a Disney World. Those Disney World turkey legs are big, kid.
Oh my God.
Tiff, where you gonna put you're crowded in at the tables. You gonna put your turkey leg on the table? No. You're gonna get turkey juice on your tragic heroes.
Sean, you bring up a good point.
Yeah, I convince you?
No! Because what about your Dole Whip float? Even if you don't spill it, you're getting the condensation all over your cards.
You put a koozie on it.
Oh,
I got a beer koozie in my pocket at all times.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You put a koozie around the Dole Whip float, and then you don't got to worry about the condensation.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were a koozie shop. So were you telling me you got enough koozies for yourself, for your opponent? You got it for the whole room?
I'm just saying that if we're playing Lorcana with Disney World snacks and I can have any snack, I'm having a Dole Whip float. It is tasty. It is hydrating. You put a cover on it, and you know what? It's a little bit dainty. And sometimes I like to feel dainty when I'm playing the card game.
Look, Dole Whip float gives you a lot of sugar. You run out of power. Turkey leg stays with you all day long. You get that protein. You get that long-lasting energy. But you know what? suppose it's whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, you know what, Wendy? We're just going to have to agree to disagree.
All right, fine.
I think you're ridiculous, frankly.
I love you.
I love you too, but I think you're ridiculous.
I think you're the dumbest person that's ever lived.
You drive me up the wall.
I can't stand you.
But you know what? I can't help myself. I love you too.
Wow, they seem happy though, I think. I can't tell.
Yeah, I think they're having fun, but they're angry at each other over there.
I love you too. Let's order the surf and turf. Oh, well.
Well, hey, you know what? I can't fault them because clearly they're Lorcana people who like snacks.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with a healthy argument about snacks.
Hopefully they'll calm down soon.
You know, best wishes to Boston, Sean, and Tiff over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's leave them to it, and we'll just enjoy our Sundays in peace.
Yes. Oh, that was a great meal. We had a lot to talk about. We had a lot to eat, a lot of surf, a lot of turf, a lot of Sundays, a lot of yelling. I'm excited for this mint right now. Brett has cooked up a dream card for us as our after dinner mint today.
Yeah, so today we have Boone, famous chef.
Ooh.
Our friend Boone from Raya and the Last Dragon, an underrated character and a far superior character to the demon that is Noi, the plague upon the Disney canon that is Noi, the abomination that is that precocious baby.
If there's one thing I know to be true every night when I go to bed, it's that Brett hates Noi. So tell us about this card. What are we looking at? Boone's a 5/4 Ruby.
Yep, a 5/4 Ruby character. He quests for 1. He is a Floodborn ally. He shifts for 2, so maybe we'd finally see some play of the Boone that already exists, the 2 cost.
Right.
And he has the ability Shrimporium, which is of course the name of his restaurant boat. The ability says, whenever this character quests while at a location, you may gain 1 lore and draw 1 card.
I love it. It's a rare card. It has the flavor text.
How hot do you want it? We have hot, really hot, and boom goes the dynamite.
So I don't hate Noi as much as you do, but I do wish that they didn't have an extra character in there and we could just focus more on this guy because he's really funny. He's a good little character.
Yeah, he has a developed backstory. He has wants and goals in the world. He's smart. He acts appropriate for his age. His precociousness is charming rather than moronic.
All right, you're right. No, we don't want to get you going on this. We'll be here all day.
Right. Anyway, Boone, he's cool. He works with locations. It'd be cool to imagine him, driving the Shrimporium around and feeding everybody cards and lore. Really fun.
So much fun.
Straightforward one this week for you. A nice crisp mint.
A nice crisp shrimpy flavored mint. Well, thus ends another episode of Smorcana.
Don't forget to hop on social media and enter our giveaway. Next week, be on the lookout for that Tiana-themed episode. And also perhaps some travelogues from the road as we hit up Texas and Arizona and New Mexico and California.
Whoop, whoop, woo!
And just a reminder, if you are in Austin, Waco, Fort Worth, Santa Fe, Flagstaff, and or Los Angeles, and you want to say hi and get a game or two in, let us know.
Or if you live in the Grand Canyon, in the bottom of the canyon, tell us.
Yeah, we'll come down and play.
Until next time, everybody.
Until next time, keep on snacking, y'all.